What is the difference between the alpha testing and a beta testing? The alpha testing, which we normally conducted by the development team or independent test team organization. That is the beauty of alpha testing, which is done by internally. But whereas beta testing, that will be done by the real world environment by the end user. That is the beauty of beta testing. The second difference between alpha testing as well as beta testing is, in alpha testing, what we do is we are more focusing on identifying the defects or issues before the software is released. That is all about alpha testing. But in beta testing, basically we try to gather feedback from the end users or customers, and based on that we are going to fix the issues. That is the difference between alpha testing as well as beta testing. Then we will see the next question is, what is the purpose of test log? Why do we really use test log? The test log, again, it is a test deliverables. Basically, it is a documentation which is developed by our tester, where they are going to capture all the execution events so that it can be used later for tracking purposes. Basically, in this test log, we are going to write the status of the test cases, any defects found, or what are the steps we executed, and what are the observations or notes which we wanted to take care whenever we are executing a particular test cases. This definitely is going to help us to track the progress of our test execution. Plus, we are also going to check what is the patterns of defects we are finding it. These test logs will give us the historical records of test execution, so that in future we wanted to go and validate what testers have done or how they log the defect, they can easily find out using this test log. And the next question is, what is all about static testing? A static testing is again another testing type where we are going to examine the software systems or application plus a documentation without actually we are going to execute the code. Static testing, so what we do is we will be reviewing the code or reviewing the test cases. Inspection we are going to do. Walkthrough we are going to do to find out the issues without executing any code for this kind of testing, which is all about static testing. Now, if we take an example for code review, where developers and testers, they will be going through the code and to see how the code has been written, whether any code standards have they followed, or any improvements for the code structure has been created, any reusability they have made, everything they will review it, and based on that they will provide the feedback. That is, the feedback is all about a static testing. And the next question is, what is test prioritization? Test prioritization is a very important process in any testing projects, where we are going to prioritize the test cases based on the criticalness or based on the risk or based on the dependencies. That is, when we are going to prioritize the test cases, we will be ordering, this is the critical number 1 test cases, this is the number 2 test cases, this is the number 3 test cases. Based on that, we are going to execute the test cases as well, like that. Like, first we will be taking all the priority 1 test cases, then priority 2, if time permits, we will going and executing the priority 3 test cases as well as part of this test case prioritization. This test prioritization is going to help us to optimize the overall testing efforts as well, because with limited resources with us, if you go and execute all 100 or thousands of test cases, it will consume a lot of human efforts or automation efforts. In order to reduce that, we will be utilizing this test case prioritization mechanism that is going to save us a lot of efforts, both machine effort plus automation or human efforts also will get saved if you correctly prioritize the test cases. If you take an example, critical or high risk areas of the software may be prioritized for testing and giving the feedback early to the development team. That is when we are going to utilize this test prioritization technique. And the next question is, what is compatibility testing? Compatibility testing is again another kind of testing where we are going to check whatever the software which we implemented, whether it is compatible with various operating systems, various browsers, devices or databases, all those things we are going to validate as part of this compatibility testing. Basically, this testing is going to ensure to validate our software functions or application is going to operate across all these different combinations, so that we can easily certify with our software with all these various configurations as well. If you take an example, any web application, any web e-commerce application that requires to be tested across all the different browsers like Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Internet or Edge, to ensure our application or web application is really performing consistently across all the platforms seamlessly. That is when we are going to test the application using this compatibility testing. What is ad hoc testing? Ad hoc testing, again, it is another kind of testing mechanism where we call this ad hoc testing as a informal way of testing the application, where without having a test cases, we just blindly go and execute the test cases or explore the software, so that we can produce great results by doing this ad hoc testing. Again, this ad hoc testing we are going to perform based on the historical knowledge which testers is having it, or experience which that resources is bringing. Based on his gut feeling or intuition, they are going to execute this ad hoc testing. Now, if you take an example, randomly clicking on certain elements in the application, by clicking certain things or click on the certain links, we may see whether the flow is going to happen or it is going to break. That kind of testing we are going to perform as ad hoc testing. We are going to, without knowledge as well, we are going to click on various things to see everything is working fine or not. That we do as part of that ad hoc testing. And the next type of testing is what is all about stress testing. The stress testing is nothing but it is again another type of testing which is non-functional testing, which is a performance testing, where we are going to evaluate the software application for its performance, where we are going to put the extreme stress condition or unfavorable stress condition to the application to see how the application can take the stress for a given amount of time or given period, to see whether application really produces the great results during this stress loading as well. That kind of validation we are going to perform as part of this stress testing, where we are going to put a high load and with the limited resources and excessive data, and we will see whether application really breaks after certain time, or whether application really going to degrade its performance. All those things we are going to check as part of this stress testing. If you take an example, let's say we have a video streaming application like YouTube, millions of people start watching it, then we wanted to see whether the right infrastructure is there to host that video and able to view millions of people together at the same time without crashing the application or without crashing our system. That is a kind of validation or that kind of testing we perform as part of this stress testing. And the next question is, what is the difference between static testing and a dynamic testing? We just talked about static testing, then we will see what is the differences between static versus dynamic testing. The static testing we already talked about. Without going to the code, without executing the code, we are going to test using code reviews or walkthroughs. All those things we do as part of this static testing. But in dynamic testing, basically we are executing the code and we are going to evaluate the behavior of the application while executing the test cases. But in static testing, this is more importantly, without executing as well, we are going to find the defects as part of static testing. But in dynamic, we are going to validate the defects only post execution. That is the thing we are going to do as part of this static versus dynamic testing. What is all about test harness? The test harness is a set of tools or scripts or a framework. Framework can be any kind of framework. Normally that will be used to automate the execution and plus monitoring those executions as well and reporting the results of the test cases. Also, we call the entire suite, we call it as a test harness. It is a set of tools. It is a set of tools to perform all these activities. Basically, it provides a standardized environment for testing and simplifying the overall testing processes. Like an example of test harness is like test framework like JUnit and Java as well, where we can write and execute the test cases as part of the JUnit. So that is all about test harness.